Hi YouTube, Darth here. Welcome to Over Your Shoulder, a series where I stalk unsuspecting players and give unsolicited commentary on their gaming. Today my victim is Atlas, a level 56 that surprised me a few times with his skill during this commentary. Enjoy!
Alright, we're gonna follow Atlas around. See what we get. Level 56 did really well last round. Let's see if he does well this round.
I don't know if I trust this transport pilot. Getting a little bit close to this.
Oh my, that's called playing it risky.
At the start of the round, if you're a transport pilot, one of the things you're going to want to do is keep an eye out for the enemy transport helicopter.
Bursting the miniguns, that's really good.
Bursting those miniguns not only gives you a little bit of extra range, it also makes sure that you don't overheat the miniguns. If you overheat your miniguns, it's game over if you have somebody shooting at you. Atlas is doing a really good job here trying to keep the sky clear for his transport pilot. I think the transport chopper is one of those underutilized weapons simply because there are so many bad transport pilots out there.
My tolerance for transport pilots is low unless I know who they are. I usually bail at the first possible rooftop,
especially during any signs of trouble. So now I'm going to get my first look at what he's playing as, and it looks like we are playing as the Assault with the Scar H. I love this gun so much I cannot confess my love enough for it. If I ever did a yes or no series, it would probably go something like this.
Yes! 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 Oh, yes!
And if you actually got the movie that's from, congratulations, you're old. So between all that interesting fidgety behavior, we can see that he has the coyote sight, the laser, and what looks to be either a muzzle brake or a flash hider.
Playing it safe. Yep, on some enemies. Doing a good job of bursting. Not gonna help him much though.
So he does a really good thing here where he realizes he's in the open and heads for cover.
Sorry, a teammate took care of that guy. Oh, that tank's down there. I would so be running for that right now.
Looks like his team got it anyway. And he's playing a little bit of a risky game there, just sort of putting himself in the line of sight of the enemy. I think what I might have done is gone through that underpass underneath the garage and then come up behind the enemy and see if I can come up with him that way. Also, he's hanging on to 2 grenades, and either of those 2 grenades would have been a good option at that point as the enemy was in a confined area. Ultimately, he went with the coin flip, and you have to hope that the enemy's aim is worse than yours.
Good job spotting. Oh yeah, mash that Q. Oh, that makes me happy. So let's see what we got going on here. Oh yeah, this is going to be a blowout, I have a feeling.
The blue team is not doing a very good job of defending their points from the red team. And the red team's even managed to come up with their armor, which is very interesting. Could be the armor from the spawn too. Right now the red team is doing a really good job of keeping their team together and capturing points, which is going to be a problem if it continues late into the game for the blue team. And Atlas is doing a really good job of playing the objective. He's throwing down health for his teammates, and he's throwing down health for himself whenever he's going to be sitting in a spot. Although Atlas certainly does have this very bizarre switching habit, which is probably going to give him trouble. And he pays for it right there. So an easily avoidable death due to strange switching habits. Definitely something to work on. Was he bored? Who knows? So Atlas is being a really good strategic teammate. He saw that the point was in contention, and he spawned here in order to help defend it. Now we get to see if that hip-fire scar is any good. Not bad at all.
That's the power of the laser say hips. The hip scar.
I usually run the 2x magnifier, but after watching Atlas play around with this a little bit, I think I might have to give the laser a bit more of a try. And again, he's doing a good job of throwing down a medic bag whenever he has an idle moment. As an assault, you're going to want to do that simply so you can get a little bit of extra healing in case an enemy appears, just like that. Atlas is playing it safe here. He's trying to wait out the enemy's zib and slowly streaming in from that elevator up top.
Dive, toss, medic bag, yep.
So far, Atlas has done pretty much everything exactly right. Might have to rename this series Over Your Shoulder to Patting You on the Shoulder. Since we seem to have a lull here, let's see what the strategic situation looks like. It looks like the red team has managed to continue to hold 3 points, much ado to Atlas here at sea.
Oh, you got your face shot off.
I think about the only thing Atlas could have done to prevent that is to turn off his laser sight. And we've got way more than enough teammates here to defend this point, so jumping off and heading down to the bottom to find a new point is definitely worth it.
Looks like he's going to come up behind, try to get those guys. Oh, you are doing everything right.
I'd like to point out here that the power of vendetta in Battlefield is very strong. If you kill somebody, expect them to come looking for you, just like this, later in the game. That's why it's never a good idea to stay in a single spot for a long time, like that sniper right there.
Oh my gosh, he's right there. You can hear him.
Audio is one of the best cues you can use in this game. Definitely don't ignore it. Looks like we're taking a surprise elevator trip now. I think the elevators are one of those great compromises in Battlefield 4. The designers knew that they wanted to have elevators in the game, but the engine wouldn't really support it. So you end up with a strange situation where a player will trade positions.
Throw on that medic bag though, because you'll probably be needing it when you get up there. There you go. Look at that. It's like I'm telling them how to play. It's amazing.
Lots of dead bodies up here, but no enemies. Oh, there's one, and the hit fire betrays him, and he was being shot at by the attack helicopter at the same time. That's just a matter of bad timing.
Oh, I hope you trust your transport driver. Turn the laser off. Turn it off.
So that's one of the double-edged swords of the laser, is that it's great for hip fire and up close, but if you have it on all the time, you make yourself a super easy target for enemies to spot. And it's a little bit dangerous to be flying the transport helicopter so low across the water, because you never know when an enemy tank is going to show up, put a shell in you, and kill you and 5 buddies.
Definitely preferring this corner here.
So one of the problems with patterns of behavior is if your enemies figure out your pattern, you're a dead man. Or lady, if that's the case. Let's see what we got going on the tabletop. So it looks like the situation on the map has completely reversed. So my guess before that this was going to be a blowout, probably not right. This is probably going to be a close game now. Still, it looks like the blue team is having a hard time clamping down on these backfield flags. Atlas is continuing to play the objective, and he's being a real asset to his team. Not a bad move here, waiting for the tank. After you capture a point, it's always worth checking and seeing if the tank or the armor is going to spawn at a point. So it looks like we're making our way over to the transport pilot, who is actually really good by the looks of things, so we definitely had reason to trust him.
Oh, look at all these blue uniforms. Isn't that cute?
My least favorite and most obvious camo in the game. Ugh, always a challenge when you get out of a jet or a helicopter. With this point in contention, I would probably hop out and help try to take it. And again, as we see, Atlas is making all the same moves I would make. Not bad. Whenever your team captures a point and you're relatively certain there are no more enemies, you always want to find your next point and move on. I can hear a helicopter, but I cannot see a helicopter. Wow.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, everybody bail. Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, get out of that thing. Oh, he's like it had and squish him.
So we're closest to C, so it's pretty much the point we're committed to at this point. If you're having a hard time taking C, you might want to consider blowing up the pillars and dropping the building. Far too many times I've seen my own teammates take out a building that we held for most of the round simply because they want to see it happen. Believe it or not, there is some strategy to the evolution on this map, and bringing it down if you control the point is not a good idea. The same is true of the C point on lockers, and it looks like Atlas is continuing his bad habit of weapon swapping, which got him in trouble once and probably will again. Whenever you want to swap weapons, keep in mind that it's almost a full second that you're completely unable to attack any enemy. Taking a look at the overall strategic picture, it looks like the game has shifted from red to blue.
Okay, Atlas, what's your game plan here? Looks like he's going to be taking those elevators up to the top again. Oh my goodness. I would rage for days.
If there are multiple elevators on the map, it's definitely a good idea to take different elevators, especially looking at that minimap and seeing how many enemies are up top. You don't want to arrive at the top only to get blown away. And it looks like the red team is the only team with a commander, so that's going to come in handy during the match when all those UAVs help spot all these enemies.
Laid that shot down a little bit too long. Oh my goodness.
Now Atlas is doing a good job of finding enemies using the minimap, but at the same time he's not doing a very good job of bursting his scar, which would be giving him a lot more accuracy.
Definitely doesn't hurt to have a commander spotting stuff for you in the sky. Really good habit of playing the objective and helping out teammates whenever I can, throwing ammo, or excuse me, health.
Definitely getting a little bit too excited here with these shots and definitely not taking his time. Definitely need to get out into cover, but at that point, it's a little bit too late.
Ooh. Again? Why? Oh my god.
You know that part where I said trust your transport pilots sometimes, only if they're good? Well, trust revoked. One good way to find out when your transport is probably screwed and you need to bail out is to fly transports yourself, if even on the test range. This will let you know what the limits of the aircraft are. Atlas is definitely doing a really good job of spotting.
Oh, uh-oh. That's gonna be trouble.
I think at this point all you can do is sneak away and hope your engineer teammates can take that thing out for you. I'm going to pause the action here in a second because I want to show you something that caught me by surprise the first time. Can you see it? I certainly didn't, but Atlas does. Right there. That's what I call an amazing catch. That's an enemy that's not on the minimap, it's not spotted, and you simply caught because you're being very attentive. Way to go, Atlas. And as you can see, the waiting game pays off. And because this is called over your shoulder and not pat you on the back, I do still have to criticize him for using a little bit too much ammunition on there. He could have been bursting his weapon when he was instead holding down the trigger. And again, we see a little bit more of that in main weapon swapping. So you can hear the gunfire and you can hear the ricochet and you got a little bit of damage being taken. So the best option right there is exactly what he did, which is to throw some ammo and find some cover. I see far too many players flop in the open, and he did not do that there. He managed to do that behind cover, which is ideally what you would want to do. Here's another example of Atlas doing a really great job for his team by playing the objective. I'm not a huge fan of rushing objectives by yourself, but if you're going to do it, try to play it in the safest way possible. These elevators that take you directly to the top are not a bad option because they give you the best field of view on an opposing side. However, because there's no cover on the top of the building, they do leave you woefully exposed, especially to helicopters. Looks like Atlas is taking some of my criticism to heart, and he's now bursting the weapon. He's doing a good job of playing it safe and just peeking this corner just as much as he possibly can, which will keep him covered from the ground, but obviously won't protect him from the sky. And like I said earlier, it's very dangerous to be in an exposed position up top for too long.
Alright, we're going tanking now.
I have to say that Shanghai is probably one of my favorite maps to play a tank on, simply because there's a lot of cover that you can use to help get away from threats. And again, we see Atlas making great use of the Mark 1 eyeball and finding enemies. Although I probably would have led with the HMG in that case simply because the enemy was farther away. And hello, what's this? We have an engineer. And I think in that case, I would have used the shell first simply because there's an easy ducking spot for that engineer and you're close enough to make it work. You kind of have to get used to the gut feeling on these things. But ultimately, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Atlas is doing a good job here cutting off all that traffic coming from Delta towards Echo. Whenever you try to push up like this, you want to make sure that your rear and side portions are covered, and if not, be ready to use that active protection. Looking at the minimap, he's got a little bit of backup from his team for his rear, but his sides are also still woefully exposed. And now he just took 2 quick rockets. It's time to back up and get the heck out of here. One more even mediocre hit and he's gone. And there it is. Now you're forced to bail or go down with the ship. It's a really risky proposition when you get out of your tank, simply because if the enemy has engineers there, they could possibly repair your tank and take it from you. Which is why if I have a spare moment when I spawn into a vehicle, I always like to make sure I'm playing as engineer. And as you can see, Atlas has done exactly that. He's now running the Ace 52, he's running with the RPG, and he has a repair torch. He's in a fairly safe position, so it's not a bad idea to get a few licks in on a tank. If a tank doesn't see you or isn't aware of you, it's always a good idea to get a few hits in just for your team to be able to take it out later. And that tank is definitely aware of him now, so it's time to get out of the line of fire. Atlas definitely seems to be a big fan of the laser on his weapon, so let's see if he gets some use out of it. Right there, might have been a better time to hip fire simply because you do have that laser. Another choice I would have made probably before spawning would be to get some mines in this situation. If I know I'm going to be going up against enemy armor and I'm not going to be repairing my tank or somebody else's, it's a no-brainer in whether to pick up mines or not. In this case, I probably would have picked up slams simply because this garage has a lot of nice spots to throw those slams on. Walls, ceilings, they're all great. And as far as tactical strategy goes, at this point I'd be trying to figure out how to get to that LAV and just get a few more shots on it and try to kill it. That door to the outside is certainly a good option. So right here is an example of where it might have been better to simply just kill your enemy rather than spotting them. The spotting animation does actually consume time that you could be shooting an enemy with. But in general you should be spotting, unless of course the enemy is straight up your nose. So here I want to point out Atlas is really good use of the minimap. He sees how many dead friendlies are over there, and he also saw an enemy, so he knows that there's somebody going to be over here on this side of the parking garage. So he's being super cautious, and there is an armored vehicle right there that I think I would probably take simply because you'd get a little bit of extra cover. Whenever you see a vehicle like that, there's no reason not to take it. It looks like Atlas is missing this guy to his left, and it's a good thing that he's a terrible shot. Good gravy. Oh, there's that one, and this guy is not a terrible shot. So Atlas has made a fantastic play in getting the armor out of the hands of the enemy at this point. You know there are enemies at a point, you don't want to let your armor sit around. Far too often have I seen enemies take armor from a point that a friendly controlled and nobody wanted and simply end up taking half the map with it. Another great tactic with the tank that Atlas is demonstrating here is using crosshairs from near hits to help you find enemies. Sometimes you even get enemies that are willing to sit there and take all the hits and simply die.
Oh, you're in trouble now. Yeah. Oh, you're really in trouble. Oh, you better get out of there. It's time to drive. Bonk! Oh, that's unfortunate.
See all that C4? That guy's teammate just sold him down the river. And Atlas just made a huge mistake getting out of a perfectly healthy tank, especially when there's tons of explosives sitting there that he could have taken advantage of. Again, another pointless spot. He knew exactly where the tank was and it was already spotted. But he did a good job of getting that rocket in straight on the butt of the tank. But ultimately, he should have stayed in that tank. And now he pays for it. An insult to injury, the enemy now has that tank.
Alright, chopper time. Chopper day, we have over.
And look, it gives a couple of free kills. Now I understand that people want to snipe from a long distance to feel safe, but I feel like this is one of the least effective things you can do in any game. Sitting on a roof miles away from the objective is just not for me. Apparently Atlas decided that he didn't have any faith in his pilot and that pushing this point was a little bit better of an idea than sticking with that. And ultimately looking at the minimap, that's probably a good choice. This game has been in contention, but it's starting to get away from the blue team, so they need to start thinking about getting some more points. And Atlas is continuing to make good use of his minimap to find targets and take them out. If you can see somebody on the minimap and you think they might be near you, it's always worth checking out. And Atlas gets caught in the reload, which is one of my own personal big mistakes. If you're reloading when enemies are nearby, it's not a bad idea to play a little bit more cautiously, sit behind cover while you're reloading, and then move forward. If you get a little bit too aggressive, you can find yourself in that situation where you're reloading, running into an enemy, and simply there's nothing you can do and you die.
My. Oh my. Elevator back down. Yep. No stopping that. That's what we call a poop our pants moment.
At this point, the blue team's going to have to hold on to those 3 points they have for quite some time in order to come back.
Laying it down.
Atlas certainly has no fear of using up all of his ammo. Not really sure why we're taking this long way around when really you should just be trying to figure out how you can get back to the top of C and help your team take it.
We're spending an awful amount of time down here.
The red team's not yet in bad shape, but they will be if they manage to lose all of these points that are in contention. But if the blue team manages to come up with these points and keep them for another 2 to 3 minutes, this game could easily turn around in their favor. Now, I'm not really sure why Atlas was walking along the enemy side of the river, but it's a good way of getting yourself killed every time.
We're going in with the C4. We're going to blow up the 17 clustered enemies. This will be interesting to see if this works.
I didn't think he was going to get anybody. While the C4 does have quite a blast radius, I can't say that this is probably the best strategy for assaulting this point. He definitely gets points for creativity though, so I'm going to speed up the game during his little shenanigan fest here. But I'd like to point out that the other team has managed to capture the entire map and is now burning down Red's tickets at an accelerated rate. This game, which was in Red's favor, is no longer going to be in Red's favor.
Oh, it's going to catch another one. Coming in for a landing. Pick up Delta. What do we got here? What's the situation? Ooh, not good. They are capped out. This game is quickly reversed.
And with all the points being capped, you need to think about how can you cap points back for your team as quickly as possible. Going to the roof, there are no flags up here, so you're not really going to help out your team. In this case, definitely should have captured the point. There's a lot of safe places you can stay on Conquest, especially on Shanghai. Oop, missed that jump. So when you're capping a point, it might be a better idea to try and stay safe in a spot that you can sort of get a good vantage point, rather than trying to run across open terrain for exactly that reason. So let's take a look at the situation here. Team score is all tied up. You're on top of a roof in the middle of enemy points you could be taking. What should you be doing? What's worse is the enemy team controls 4 of 5 points, so if you're not on a point really soon, your team's going to lose pretty speedily. If you answered stay on that roof, throw down mines, and hope for kills, you answered wrong. So my first step would be to get off this roof and go head to A and capture that point. The mistake Atlas makes here is to chase these kills instead of trying to get that point. So Atlas's big second mistake of this game is ignoring these points when they matter the most. And he almost craters on the landing. But he manages to come up with the kill anyway, and is surprised as I am to find a bunch of teammates just hanging out there. Again, would have been a better idea to just go and capture the point. At this point, I gotta be honest with you, choosing sniper, sitting up on top of a roof when your points are running low, you're pretty much throwing the game away. There's a perfect example of you miss all the shots you don't take. Apparently my will over Atlas has run out at this point because I would will him to go to A and take that point. I would have done that about 5 minutes ago, in fact.
Must be the game up again, because frankly this is the worst play I've seen all game out of Atlas, and it's kind of disappointing actually. I mean, he was doing really well the rest of the game. I mean, honestly I have to take a double take and make sure that I'm looking at the right player here, because this is, you know, not the same play style I've seen the rest of the game. He was doing really well. He was being super aggressive. He was getting points and flag caps for his team. But ever since the shenanigans and elevator riding, he just sort of hasn't paid attention to the game, and well, it shouldn't surprise you when your best player stops paying attention to the game that you start to lose it. So good game played by both teams. Sadly, it looks like Atlas stopped playing about the 300 ticket mark. Perhaps he was frustrated, or perhaps his team wasn't living up to expectations, but at the same time, you still have to play with the same intensity throughout the game. So again, overall, Atlas did very well throughout the game, made a lot of great choices. He ended up slacking off at the end, which really didn't help his team out. Also, if we were to change one habit that he has, I would definitely get rid of that quick swapping of the weapons. That's going to cost you time and again. But otherwise, a pretty solid game. That's it for this episode of Over Your Shoulder. If you like what you saw, please like the video. If you have suggestions for the next Over Your Shoulder, please leave a comment below. If you'd like to see more Battlefield 4 videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, YouTube.